episode of Your Faith and Health Community. I'm your host, Pastor Jackie Jackson, and as always, on behalf of myself and our producer, Anita Alexander, we want to thank you very much for taking out time from your day to spend with us. And prayerfully, we'll give you some information that will improve your quality of life. Gotta ask, you know it's coming, always. Have you, since the last time we've been together, enrolled in health care, health insurance, if you have not already enrolled? We know open enrollment ended, that's done deal, but if you are eligible for Medicaid, meaning if you're single, making $16,228 a year or less, that makes you eligible for Medicaid. If you're a family of four with a combined income of $45,500 or so, that makes your entire family eligible for Medicaid. That covers emergency room, doctor's visits, prescriptions. It covers vision, dental. If you're like me, vision becomes real important. You got to have the glasses, right? So if you have not enrolled in Medicaid, Medicaid does not have a closed and open enrollment. You can enroll in Medicaid year-round. Now, if you're going to the marketplace, meaning that if you're single and your income is over that $16,228 a year, then you have to go to the marketplace. If you did not go during open enrollment and you were eligible to go then it's too late for you. You're going to have to wait until next year, or you can go and get private insurance without going to the marketplace. Now, since open enrollment closed, if you've lost your job since open enrollment closed back the end of November, then that makes you eligible to get marketplace insurance, because that's called a basically a change of life or a life-changing event. But you only have 60 days from the time your life-changing event started. So if you lost your job today, you'd have 60 days from today to enroll in marketplace. Also, if you've just moved into the state of Ohio, if you've recently started a new job and they don't offer job-offered health insurance, if you recently had a baby, or you've recently gotten married or divorced, also if you're just coming home from incarceration, that makes you eligible to go to marketplace, provided that you have a job that puts you in that income range. So again, get enrolled in healthcare. Not going to wear you out with it. I know you're like saying thank you about time, but we're going to get to some very good information. We have a special guest with us, and actually, you know, everybody is special when they come here because they're bringing you information and they're giving me information. And the Bible says, my people perish for the lack of information or the lack of knowledge. And we have with us today Geneva Clark, who is the life coach manager for the City Gospel Mission's faith-based recovery drug and alcohol program for women, having the courage to change. And I like that the name of that program, having the courage to change, because it definitely takes some courage to change from your present situation. Mm-hmm. So how are you doing today, Geneva?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate you and Anita for inviting me here, and I'm looking forward to our discussion. I'm excited.
All right, well, let's jump into the discussion.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about, well, before you tell us about the program, some people may not be familiar with City Gospel Mission, so can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. City Gospel Mission is a spiritually based services type program. They offer so many services there, all the way from youth enhancement to alcohol and drugs, they have a homeless shelter, and it's just a number of services, social services that it offers, and it is faith-based, and it's been around for 70-something years. It's been around for a long time. So it's well known in our community, and it just provides some really good social services, especially the homeless shelter program, as well as the recovery program for men and women. So.
Now, I remember, I used to do chapel when City Gospel, which used to be actually on the corner of Elm and Magnolia for a long time,
yes.
right? So I used to do a chapel there, and they would do dinner. Are they still doing the dinners, and was it breakfast and dinner or lunch and dinner?
Yes, at the homeless program, yeah, they still serve those people. Of course, they reside there. I'm not sure how they do their day-to-day, but we do have outside people coming in to minister and to serve and to teach.
But you can't come back now, because I know when it was on Elm Street, there were the residents that were there, but then if you were homeless and you still needed a meal, you could still come there. And I think, if I remember right, it's been a long time ago. I think
they still offer that.
they still
too.
offer that.
I think
Okay,
they still offer
good.
that too.
So that's just an idea, and I just kind of wanted the viewers to get an idea of what the City Gospel mission was if they weren't familiar with it. Now let's talk about this, and I like the fact that it's a faith-based drug and alcohol recovery program for women. Just to say the name again is Having the Courage to Change. Now let's talk about having, what is this program? I know it's drug and alcohol, but what is that?
Okay, it's a faith-based program that was founded. Its founder is Lakrita Bowman. A lot of people may be familiar with her. She actually started Having the Courage to Change about 23, 24 years ago. We started, and I was there. We started, came out of Christ Emmanuel in terms of just being members of the congregation, and she got this vision to do it. And she used to talk to me to death about this ministry that she saw. And it wasn't just for women. She saw for men and children and so many different houses. And at the time, she had said that the Lord told her that I was supposed to come and be the resident manager there at the time. And I had a full-time job and working, and I wasn't trying to leave my own apartment to go manage some people in recovery. But I guess 3 to 4 months later, I finally did get the call, and I moved in, and we was in Evanston on Kenny. And I moved in, happened to pay to work there. Since there wasn't no money. We had nothing, just a hope and a prayer. And I guess about 8 months or 9 months into it, we sit down one day at the table, and Lakrita says, I'm going to believe God for vans and equipment and staff, and it looked to be $300,000 or some $1,000 ministry, expenses. And I'm sitting there, we was typing it up because I was the secretary at the time as well. So I was typing it up, and I typed it up, and today, 20-something years later, she has all of that. We have all of that and more. There's several houses to the ministry. We do have a men's program. We do have a program now that we're affiliated with for the children and mothers. So almost everything that we wrote down in faith has come to pass.
Hey, faith the size of mustard seed move mountains.
Come on.
So, if you can get a mountain moved, surely you can get a program off the ground.
Well,
and y'all did. So.
Well, yes, and for a program to have the longevity that this has had, it has to be something that I believe came from God, because so many ministries and programs and services, for be it spiritual services or whatever, a lot of times they don't stay, they don't last long. But this has been constant and consistent and had nothing but growth since the day we started it.
Well, to God be the glory for
Amen.
that. Now, so then you mentioned there are a number of houses. So having the courage to change, is that only housed at City Gospel, or is this a part of the whole network?
Well, the Having the Courage to Change is the name, but under the Having the Courage to Change ministry comes the Ruth and Naomi House. That's women who have been in the process or in the program for a number. We're long-term. That's another thing. We didn't add that it was a long-term program. And so people live there, and they live there. We do a holistic approach. So you start off at the New Beginnings House. You come in, you may have a week or two clean and sober. And then we deal again with the holistic. We deal with the whole person, mental, spiritual, emotional, financial, recreational, educational, all of it. And so that by the time you leave, you're a well-rounded person, having been given the tools necessary to live outside of the program and to live a productive life, to become a productive member of society. We, again, we have the New Beginnings House, the Eve House, the Ruth and Naomi House, and we also have the Exodus House, and we also have Living Hope House. So we have, 4 or 5 houses there. And again, they all do certain things. It's a progression through the program, and we're goal-oriented.
So let me see, be sure I'm following. So if someone comes into the program, these steps also involve houses, right? So you're coming into the new beginning. So they're not staying there throughout the duration, right? So
Right.
that's their stop. That's the first stop.
That's the first
Say a
stop.
first a week or a couple of weeks clean.
No, actually, each phase requirement, like you start off in the orientation phase. Actually, you're a visitor, then you move into orientation in phase 1. That may be 90 days. 90 days, maybe 4 months, 3 to 4 months. And then after you progress through phase 1, then you advance to phase 2. And phase 2 is also a certain length requirement.
But this is all at the same. This is all
Well,
at
then
that
you may
same
move to
location.
the Eve House. It's all on the same
okay.
street, as a matter of fact,
Oh,
except for
okay.
the men's program. But the houses is 3 houses on one street.
Okay.
And so you go from New Beginnings to Eve House. Eve House is a little bit more privileges. You're able to work. You're able to go out on passes, more time out away from the ministry. You're also able to start looking at other types of outside support that we will, be talking with them about. And they're life coach through this. They have life coach. I'm the life coach manager, and I also have 7 women of my own that I personally meet with monthly, and I check their budgets. We do budgeting, and all my ladies are saving money, and they're so excited. And these are some women that have never learned the art of saving, and now they're doing it. And they have jobs, and they're living, and so they go from Eve House to Ruth and Naomi House, and that's the house that I manage personally. And that's where the ladies are actually going from phases. They go from phase 1 to phase 5.
Okay.
So phase 5 will be the last part of the phase process.
So what are the requirements? So let's say someone's watching and maybe it's them or someone that they know would benefit from having the courage to change. What are the requirements so that they'll know right off if they should even approach?
If you have a life controlling issue, be it incarceration, alcohol, drugs, homelessness, any life controlling issue that keeps you from living a full life, then having a courage. And if you're willing to sit under a ministry that is faith-based, because that is something that a lot of people, and when we say faith-based, we mean biblical.
So you're gonna have chapel, you're gonna have service, and
Well, they go to church.
Okay.
They do attend outside churches.
Okay.
They do attend outside other type of spiritual and or non-spiritual type of programs too. And in terms of Crossroads Healthcare, they do their healthcare. They do anything that's needed. We also are part of the Flying Pig. We have a big old ministry for Flying Pig, and they get free gym shoes. I forget the name of the agency. I wished I remember, because they give them every year. And so they practice and prepare for these 5 and 10K runs. I even did it last year. I was so proud of myself. But
you
so
ran
they're
10
just
miles?
no, I did the 5K. No, and I did run. I walked it, but it was great. I mean, so. It's a holistic approach thing. And so, you ask who qualifies. Again, if you have a alcohol, drug abuse problem, and you just can't seem to get anywhere with it, you're constantly relapsing, and you're just frustrated, you have life controlling issues, you don't have a full life. Mm-hmm. We have dealt with the gamut in terms of mental health. So that wouldn't disqualify you. We have people with even physical, problems. That would not disqualify you. I can't think of anything really that would disqualify people unless they have some really major health issues.
So a criminal record isn't an issue. Now, I know from some of the work I did, especially when I worked for the outreach team and even through ministry, when you're trying to help or connect people to services, mm-hmm. Some services do have some stipulations. Like I know some of the landlords we would try to work with to get people housing. Mm-hmm. If there was arson or something dealing with sexual assault with children, or actually sexual assault, it didn't matter if it was a sex crime, that would disqualify them for certain programs. Are there any disqualification qualifying factors?
You know, as far as the arson thing, I think that would probably all depends on time and length and how recent. But even in terms of child abuse and things of that nature, it all depends on the school location. That's the law.
Right.
But we're gonna interview anybody,
Okay.
and I've not really seen anybody turned down, except for if they just refuse. You know, they just
Right.
can't deal with the faith-based issue, or if they have really, really severe health care issues. Because we're not a
Right. It becomes a liability,
we're not a respite, and we're not a recovery rehabilitation for physical ailments. Although, if you have some things, we will work with you to get those things, taken care of. So,
Well, how about, let's say one of the ladies, she's struggling with drug or alcohol addiction and have been homeless, but she also has children.
now, if she has children coming right in, we would not, that's not a service that we provide at this time. But we do have access to one up in Middletown, and it's our Living Hope House. So,
Living Hope House.
Uh-huh. And that's out in Middletown, and I believe, I'm not really that knowledgeable of it, but I do know that they do take children.
So you all have
We
you're
have
you're not affiliated.
Oh, yeah, we
but-
are. That,
oh, you are
as a matter of
affiliated.
fact,
There is
they
an
come under,
affiliation.
they
Well,
come
I meant
under
in
the-
terms of your two ministries are not connected
Yes,
together.
that-
right?
exactly.
You're,
There's
work,
not
you're
con-
working in ministry, but not as direct parts of the organization.
Well, they actually do kind of fall under the City Gospel Mission, just not under the recovery.
Not under the okay, so
under
not
the
under
recovery.
Courage to Change, but
Right.
under City Gospel.
Right.
Okay, so if someone is watching and they do have children, and because sometimes that's hard, you know, I know at one point when we started the ministry, we wanted to open not a halfway house. What is it? Transitional housing,
Transitional
but we
house,
wanted transitional housing for the whole family,
whole
which
family.
is not always easy to find.
That's so needed.
So,
That's still
but,
kind of needed in this community.
but we, like you said, you do have connections
We have
that you can refer
connections,
them to
yes.
someone where if they do have children, they don't have to be separated from their children as they're going through
We
the
can
process.
refer out, we can make a connection, or and then just kind of go from there. But you're right, that's not that's not a right now. That's not a right now service that's offered in this community, unfortunately.
And it's probably kind of hard to do, especially if you're dealing with the drug and alcohol recovery, because if, depending on, I guess, what stage someone is in, if you're bringing in the mother and you're bringing in the children, depending on the state the mother's in,
Makes
you
it
may
very
end up
hard.
becoming foster parents in a sense, or something along those lines.
Yes,
So-
and that's not what we do at this stage now. Do we? We have our participants there who have children, and maybe they have been adopted out, or maybe they're with their families, their moms or their dads. They could come in. They're able to spend the weekends with them.
Okay, that's my
They're able to,
question.
oh yeah. And we also just started a little village program out on the west side that we're also connecting our mothers with, and this is a program that starts, I think, from the baby up to
What is that? It says Little Village,
Little
but what does
Village.
that mean?
They have the daycare. It's like a daycare, and they have all kind of activities and learning skills and stuff in there for the children, and that just recently got launched, and that's also part of City Gospel Mission. City Gospel Mission got
But
a
that's
lot.
not a residential though. That's
No,
not
no,
residential. So
no.
that's like
No.
day program.
It's like a day program, yeah.
Okay.
So
So
we
if,
do let them come in, and like I said, they spend the weekends or spend the night, and so they are able to connect with their children.
okay, so that part, that's good. So
Oh.
even if they have to say mom or auntie or whoever, can you take care of my child while I go through this process? How long, so let's say from in the door to out the door, not out the door because they walked away, but from in the door to completion and out the door, how long is that process? I know, I'm just kind of roundabout because I know that's going to depend on the individual.
And it really does. I
Right.
would say 18 months.
Okay, good.
18 months would be a good time to come in. If you work in the program, you work in the process, you're going through the phases, 18 months is really good. But we have had people stay. Like, we don't make people go. I mean, we do push them out after
Right.
a while, because we got to push them out like that eagle. You have to push your little eaglets out. But we just don't rush them to go, because we realize that this process may take longer. And it didn't take them 12 months or 6 months to get there.
Right. So this is really a program, and I'm not saying that the other programs are not, but just based on what you're saying, this is really a program about recovery. You said it's holistic. It's about not just saying you're healed, so to speak, but it's saying let's make sure that you've got all the other tools that you need, because if you get off drugs and alcohol, but all the other tools aren't there, or you don't know how to work them, those are the situations that can push you back. So you really work, the program really works to make sure that people, when they do leave out the door, that they're equipped to handle the world that they've kind of been away from and shielded a little bit from.
Come on,
Okay,
because
I like
the Bible says first the natural, then the spiritual. Far too often we get so spiritual and so all in the clouds that we can't even know how to pay rent. We don't even know how to budget money. We don't go to the doctor. I just left a class that I do every Thursday, and it's a stewardship class, and we just started one with one of our partners, and it's going to be called 180, Protecting the Investment in You. So oftentimes they have invested a whole lot into their recovery, but they're not putting the necessary tools to protect what they started. And you're right, we can be all so spiritual. I know a whole lot of spiritual people, and they don't pay their rent, or they homeless, and they don't budget right, or they mismanage their funds. I know a whole lot of spiritual people that don't eat healthy, that's not healthy, that don't go to the dentist and don't get their teeth cleaned. I know a whole lot of spiritual people that's just so, they just don't have, they don't even know where they're going, because their heads is in the cloud. And don't get me wrong, I'm spiritual too, but if I don't know how to naturally, in the natural, everyday life, it's going to take people back out. So we make sure that they, at least that's our goal, is to make sure that they have been given the necessary tools, like you said, to not just know the Lord, but to know how to just deal in everyday life.
We need to live life trying to get to heaven, but we can't live life like we're in heaven. There's no sickness in heaven. So when you say I'm not going to go check with my doctor, God's got me covered, and God's going, I gave man the ability to learn, retain, and regurgitate, and to cure you. So if you're not going to go, don't be crying at me when we're going to cry to him anyway. But I hear what you're saying. I really like the program. I really wish we had more time to talk about it, just to get a little bit more in depth. But I know that Anita will be putting up information so that if somebody, listen, if it's you, don't be all prideful. If it's you, if it's your daughter, if it's your son, because City Gospel does men as well.
This is for men as well.
It's
called the Exodus program.
The Exodus program. If it's someone you know, if it's your neighbor, it's your friend, it's your buddy, your road dog, your homegirl, whatever it is, and you know that they need this, make sure that they get to courage, having the courage to change. You can reach out to City Gospel Mission. You've gotten some information, so there's no reason for you to perish. Amen? So listen, we want to thank you again for spending time with us. I hope, I'm going to go so far as to say, I know somebody got some information that is definitely going to be life-changing for you. We pray that you take it. We look forward to seeing you again. But until then, stay faithful, stay healthy.
That was good.